This is a demo for the check printing system. I'm just trying to go through the features, seeing that everything is covered from the requirements document. So we sign in. It's a simple one-page app. We get a screen for configuration and we get a screen for reports. But mostly everything gonna pass through this screen. Okay, this is how it works. When you create a new check, the check is an entry is made into this display. And let me just go through the columns quickly. So sequence is a system generated sequence. It um, it it increases every time a new check is added. Time is the time stamp when the check was created. CTN and TRK and PDY, these are codes that's part of the requirements that a check has a payment code. So we can use these codes later and make reports to figure out, for example, how many checks were printed for paddy, how many for transportation. And these codes can be modified, added to, and that kind of stuff in the configuration. The batch column indicates if this check is part of a batch. If it's part of a batch, you're going to have a batch number represented here. Excuse me. Um, so the batch number corresponds directly to this other display area at the top here where we have all the batches. So 6 is gonna correspond with this batch at the top. Status is well, in this app the checks have statuses from entered, that's the initial status, to all the way when they are cleared, that's the final status, cleared. And there are some other statuses in between. So this is going to show you the current status. When this check is printed, for example, it will take on a printed status. And from then, when it's cleared, you can put the cleared status. We are using status to track the life cycle of the check. You can also bounce a check or indicate that a check is bounced or cancel a check and or delete a check. And so when you cancel a check, the status will change to cancelled. If you delete a check, the status will change to delete. We are doing it like this because we want to track things that happen to the check, because we know uh, things are going to happen, and when we do a report, we don't want a report of we don't want bounce checks or cancel checks in the report. So we'll be able to filter those out by tracking the status of the check. BP obviously is a business partner. Check number. Well, you're gonna see check number blank for these checks that have a status of entered, because this check number comes from the template that is going to be put into the printer. The bank pre-prints the template and puts the check number, the routing number, the account number, all that stuff is on the paper template that's going to go in the printer. So we are capturing that check number when at the point when we actually print the check, because we don't want to put in a check number, say for example check number 10 here, and then because check number 10 may be the next check number in the sequence, but then when we come down to it, we actually gonna print this another check and use a check number 10. So we're not capturing the check number at the point of entry. We are capturing it when we actually going to print the check and when that template goes into the printer. So the exact check number that's on that exact template that's going to be used for this check, That's what we capture here, and we capture it at the point of printing. Um, I may be going on about this, but it's very important that we get the precise check number for each checks, because we want this thing to have some integrity, that we can track what's going on and that kind of stuff. The next column, account. This is part of the requirements that we fix. We tie an account into each check, so again, so we can do some reporting to know how much is paid from this account, and such and such. The amount is the amount of the check, and the check date is the date that we're gonna put on the check, the printout date, as opposed to this date in the time field. This is actually the creation of this date is the creation of this record, and this date is actually what we're gonna print on the check, that the check is gonna be available to be cashed. Okay, all right. How do we create a new check? Hit the new check button. Select account, payment type, and we're gonna start typing in the name of someone. And just like the party system, this brings up a autocomplete dialog. So we just need to type in part of the name, and then the system gonna bring out a list of people that matches the first couple letters that we start typing. If we want to put a memo, we can put a memo here. Excuse me. If we are paying this check to service some invoice, you can put the invoice number, invoice date, and the invoice amount here. But this is not necessary. The check date goes here. The check amount goes here. And at this point we can save. This is the required fields for the check. You're gonna see this field here, batch. A batch indicates that we want to save this check directly into a printing batch. That this check is going to be part of a set of checks that all going to be printed out at the same time. We have that option. We can put this check in within a batch, or we can leave it as is, so it's going to be a standalone check. And if later on we want to add it to a batch, we can do this. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. At the point that we hit save, and we can see the check is entered here. At the point we hit save, the system saves the check and prompts that if we want to print, we can print immediately. So we can, know that we are ready to print, we can get the template that we're using, the bank template, we can put it in the printer, and the check number from that template, we can record it here. So this is if we want to print immediately. If not, we just hit close. Okay, so I was saying before that we can, so this is a check that we just entered. I was saying before we can add this check to a batch after it was entered as a standalone check. We can just select the check, go to check actions. Check actions give us a list of options, or actions actually, that we can apply to the check. Some stuff is going to be grayed out because it's not applicable to this check yet. For example, we cannot clear this check or bounce this check because the check has just been entered. It's not even been printed yet. So this means if it's not printed, that means it's not actually been issued to our business partner. So we cannot say indicate clear bounce at this point. Okay, some options we have, we can delete the check. Delete means, like, for example, it was a mistake and we would like to delete it. Print, well, print is obvious. We can print the check right away. And add to batch, we can add it to an existing batch. So this is what I was coming to. We can add the batch like this, click it, and the system is going to display the two available batches that we have. We select the first one and we click add. And now, if you've been keeping track, you're going to see this field for this batch has increased. It was 2 checks previously. Now it indicates that there are 3 checks here. Anyway, I'm going to go over this batch display in 1 second. Now you can see the check is representing 6 as the batch. So if we try to print this check now, it's going to tell us it's marked for printing a batch. We cannot print it by itself. So we need to print the entire batch to get this check printed. Okay. This display here now, this represents the batches in the system, and this was part of the requirements too. To create a new batch, you choose the button at the top here. No, sorry, it's right here. New batch, and you enter the name of the batch. By default, it's gonna give you it's gonna automatically create a batch name for you with the current date, but we can put whatever we want. So we have batch demo, and this is the name. The check column represents how many checks are in this batch. The total column represents what's the total value of all the checks in that batch. So we had added this check to this batch here. We can remove a check from a batch. So we just select the check and just remove from batch. It's going to ask to confirm and click OK. And now we can see batch column is not applicable. And we can now add it to the demo batch that we just created. And see the demo batch is updated. And okay. Yes, so let me move on how we can actually how the printing looks like, how we go about doing that. So any check that's entered already, we can that has the status entered or the status print, we can print. We can print a check that has a printed status because we are thinking of it as a reprint. For example, maybe you printed it but the paper wasn't in the printer, so I'm allowing printed checks to be reprinted. So you just select print action. The system is gonna give us a notice. This check seems to already be printed, and we already had a check number entered when we previously printed this check. So the system is gonna display that if it's the same check number, because we didn't actually put the template into the printer. We can leave it as is. If it's a different check number, we can change it. I'm gonna leave it as is. If you want to put a memo, we put a memo here, and we click OK. And this is the printout does not is gonna be printed on the template, and the template, this is just gonna fill the space, the empty spaces on the template. You should know how a template looks like, so you can figure out how these fields are gonna fill the template. But I'm just gonna try to make sense of this. This is the upper part of the template, and up to here, the upper part is the tear off part that we keep, I guess, and the bottom is the actual check. So you can see the check date, the check amount, the business partner name, and the check amount in words. On the check portion, there's going to be a line right here where we tear off this check. The top, this is our stub. This also has the amount, business partner, the check date, and it's going to also put the check number on the stub, and it's going to indicate the code. And yep, this is what the printout looks like for one check. If you want to print multiple check, if you want to print the entire batch of checks, you just select the batch, hit print, and the checks within that batch is going to be displayed. Now, the system is trying to help you by just asking you to put the starting check number for the batch. So what this works like this. We're gonna have a sequenced bunch of templates. In this case, we only need two templates. So we're gonna put them in sequence. So if we have template number one, we're gonna put number one first and number two second. So and then we're gonna stack them in the printer. And we're gonna put the starting check number as 1, and you can see automatically the system will figure out the remaining check numbers. So you can imagine this is like 50 checks, and you put a check number like something like this, and you can see how the system is going to figure out the remaining check. All that's required of you is to make sure that the templates that you insert in the paper, that you insert in the printer, um, is in sequence, this exact sequence. So as long as you put the checks in the sequence into the printer, this is going to be correct. So it's trying to help you from entering the check numbers one by one. So to summarize, when you're printing a batch, you just have to order your papers. You're printing a template, order them, and put the starting number of that order into the into this box, and then you print. And it's gonna print as many sheets as there are checks in that batch. So this one, there's 2. And you can see now the button changes. After we finish printing, the button changes to complete, indicating that the batch is complete. So once we've finished printing out our checks and we inspect them and they're okay, we can choose to complete this batch, or we can just close this pop-up for now. We can. So the point I'm getting to that you don't need to complete it immediately. You can just review your printed out material, and then if it's okay, then you can go to the batch and say set complete. And when you set it complete, it's removed from the display because we're finished with our batch and we don't want to clutter up the display. So that's a very quick run through of the batch printing. And now this little display displays our live check status. Live check means checks that have not been checks that are in the system yet, that have not been cleared and or bounced or anything. So it shows 12 checks in the system with a total value of this. Out of the 12 checks, 3 have the entered status and 9 have the printed status. So, okay, for the checks to be complete and come out of the live status, they would have to be cleared or bounced. So, after a check has been printed and is issued to the business partner, and we know from maybe our bank report or something that this check is cleared, we can just go and set the status to clear. And you can enter a memo if you like, and check number 25 we are clearing, and the second we clear it is gone from the grid. And we can see this total has been updated. So the system only displays checks that we need to pay attention to. Once it's at the end of life is cleared or bounced, the system ignores it. So it's just giving you the information that you need to act on. If, for whatever reason you want to go and view back all checks, or for example clear checks, you can you can put a filter on the grid and it's going to show you the clear check. This is the one we just cleared. Or if you wanted to see cancel checks, you can do that. So our filter is flexible. You can see checks by filtering their status or the payment types. So if you just wanted to see entered paddy checks, you can just set the filter and click filter. So we have some paddy checks, but maybe they're printed already, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you can also filter a check by a particular business partner. So if you want to see all checks issued to someone, you can find that someone here and get the information. Okay, so now let me go into the other screens that the system has. We have a configuration screen where we can see all the payment types and the codes. We can add to this, can remove, or we can change them. We can also do the same for the accounts. And this one is default account for the paddy system. I'm gonna explain this later on. Reports, we have a couple of reports here, and this is a filter again. You can print out your report and filter by the check status or the payment type. You can also filter by the issue check date. So if you want to see, for example, checks that will be eligible to be cleared for next week or next month, you can filter the list by the check date. And you can also filter by the check creation date. So just to remind you, this is a check creation date and this is a check date. Okay, let me show you how this report looks like. So let's look at the payment type report. So now it's showing you payment type. It's showing checks that have the status, they entered, printed, and cleared. So deleted checks would not be here. Cancel checks would not be here. Bounce checks would not be here. And you're seeing the payment types for paddy, trucking, diesel, all of them. If you want to just see for paddy, you can remove the rest and you just see paddy. And let me just put them back. So this is the payment type report. It subtotals all the checks for paddy, all the checks for trucking, and if there was well, there's no construction, so that's why that's not displayed. So this is the payment type report, and we have a business partner report. It subtotals the checks by business partner. And this is a general report which just shows all the checks and without any subtotaling, but it gives you the grand total. So you can apply all these filters to any one of these reports to fine-tune how you want your report to look. Okay, so now this system, one requirement is that it has to be integrated in the paddy system. So let me show you how that integration is accomplished. So let's go to the payment screen But before I go there, I'm gonna see someone that has some vouchers. Anil Kisoon. So, so this is Anil Kisoon account. You're gonna see two new fields in the Paddy system. You're gonna see a checkbox says create system check, and it's automatically checked. And you're gonna see another one, check batch, and it has a list of batches from the check printing system. Remember batch demo? There it is. So what this is doing is that whenever we make a payment, we can have the system automatically create a check in the check printing system from the payments that we're making. And we can have it be a standalone check or be part of a batch. But I can imagine mostly we want it to be part of a batch. We can have like a paddy batch, and the it would be easier to do our work. If we don't want to create a check when we do the payment, we can just uncheck this. But for the demo, we want to do this. So let's select the two vouchers we're gonna pay, and let's say we're gonna put the entire payment total into the check. So 371, 489, and this is the check amount. So when we click the save button, a check is gonna be created, issued to Anil Kisoon for this amount, and we need to insert a check number here. So we need to put in a check number here, but since I talk at length that check number is really should be put in at the point of printing and at the point of entering into the system. You can just put it. You can put anything, I guess. And at the point of printing, when you print that batch, you're gonna reset this check number. I actually this Paddy system is gonna give us is gonna force us to enter a check here, a check number. I'm gonna fix this because we don't need a check number at this point. When we print, we're gonna need it. So I'm gonna fix this bug here. So anyway, so we just need the payout amount, which comes from here. If we're gonna put a batch, and well, the check number will not be required later on. So I just put a placeholder. Click save. Okay. So you have a payment receipt like this. And now, if I can go into the check printing system, we'll see that check has been created. So there it is. Check has been created for Anil Kisoon, with the Paddy code, and this is the amount. And you can see it's printed. It's been printed from the GFRI account. This can be configured in the config here. You can set whatever account you want.